All right, thanks everyone for joining. This is the August CI/CD demos meeting, APAC edition. All right, so Jaime, you want to kick us off with your first demo?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was trying to share my screen while I was muted and couldn't say anything. Yeah, so I'm gonna show you how we are able to create releases from the Gitlab YAML file. This is a feature I've been working on pretty much since I started back in January. So it's exciting to see something out in production that is kind of working. All right, can you see my screen? Yep. Okay. So let me move this a little bit. Okay, so basically we have two ways of creating a release. Either when you create a Git tag and you push it manually to your repo, and having a pipeline ready to pick it up and generate the release for you. And there's the other option to create it automatically. So first, release from tag, I'll show you what needs to happen. So a few things to note, like we require, as of today, a Docker image, the release CLI Docker image. Otherwise, we won't have the commands. The runner wouldn't have the commands to create the release yet. We're also saying, okay, just run it on a tag. And just for, I think all the jobs require a script, so we just need to put something out there. And we have this new release keyword that Sean from our team worked on to add this to the YAML parser, and with help with the runner team, we were able to actually read this, understand what's going on, and to pass it to the release CLI so that we can create a release. All we need to do is specify things like the name, the description, and the required thing is the tag name. And if the tag doesn't exist, we require a reference to say, hey, create the release from this tag. We can associate the release to milestones, and we can also specify when we want this release to be available, either in the future or maybe it was available in the past. So let's just say it was created, today is 13 my time, so let's just do it 12. Okay, so we just need to push this. And so at the moment, I'll show you on the pipeline side, nothing is picking up because of the rules that I set up. So in order to kick off our release, I need to create a tag. Okay, so let's just say it's 1.6. Gonna push this. Okay, so where are my pipelines? Here. Right. So when I push this tag, the pipeline was created, and right now it's running two jobs. So one, I have a kind of like a generate description job where we actually in a previous step we just generate some description somewhere, and we're using the artifacts.m file to say, hey, just export this extra description environment variable, right, and report it in this artifact description.env. And in the next step, so as you can see here, we require the generate description job to run first, and that's going to actually source this extra description in this for this job for the release. So once this is done, okay, so the job is pretty quickly. what's happening under the hood is the GitLab runner will pass this to GitLab. GitLab will generate this, will read this node, the release node for all these flags. And it actually just creates this command to say release create, and it's going to pass all these arguments to the release CLI as arguments. And then the release CLI does what it needs to talk to the releases API to create the release. And as you can see, this all went well, it worked. So if I go into releases, I can see release B 1.60. And this one says created 18 hours ago. That's the time that I set here in the release stat. So yeah, it's all working. The other way that we can create a release is, say, for example, automatically every time we push to the default branch, for example. So I have this job auto release from master. Nothing changed much. All I'm saying here is the rules are a bit different. Don't run it on a commit tag. Only run it when there's when you push to the default branch. And what's going to happen is the job is going to say, okay, create a release with this tag name. However, this tag may not exist, right? So if this tag doesn't exist, we need to specify the commit SHA to say, hey, pick it up from this reference, and then that's how it's going to create the release. Also, as you can see, milestones is an array, so you can specify multiple milestones. You can specify just one. You don't need to specify any if you don't want. And in this case, I'm not specifying the release stat, so that it picks up like whatever time it is at the moment of the release creation. Another thing is here, sorry, not this one, auto release. We are generating the tag.
Did we lose Jaime? Oh, that's a bummer. We'll give it a couple seconds and see if he comes back. Nope. He's gone. All right. Well, this is one of the joys of demos. So we'll keep moving on. One thing I was gonna say is I'll put this in the chat. We have there's a doc attached to the meeting invite as well. So if anyone has questions, you can add them in there. So I guess for now, let's move on to our next demo, and then we can circle back on this one if he rejoins. Does that sound all right? Cool. All right, Amy, do you want to jump in?
Yep. Let's see. Share screen. Here we go. I have a really big monitor. Hopefully that is visible to y'all. Maybe put all these UI elements from Zoom where I can actually click things. Okay. So I'm going to be demoing this sort of quality of life feature for people who use review apps on GitLab. We had an issue where one of our users was having a bunch of stale old review apps just sort of like running in the background. And they're like, where are these coming from? And it turns out that there was kind of a race condition between review apps sort of being the job that would like actually eventually, when it completes, deploy the review app, and the sort of cleanup that happens when a merge request is actually merged. So when a merge request is merged, we go and we look at the review app and we clean it up. But what happens if they merge it before the deploy like finishes, right? Then it just gets sort of like lost in limbo and will stay running forever. So the change is sort of in this post-merge service. There's this additional logic of like canceling all the review app deploy jobs, right? And that just does this little sort of magic incantation that goes and does that. So let's just demo what that looks like. And I have this project right here. It's called test, and I have a review app deployment here, and it's just going to sleep for 500 seconds, which will give me time to sort of demonstrate how this issue can occur. So if I go to the README and just create change, and let's check out master. Right. Let's check out master first. Pull all the changes, make a change. Push that out, and then make a, oops, refresh. I don't know why that's happening on my local GDK, but it has been for the last couple days. So create a merge request. All right. And then we should see in pipelines over here that this is running, right? So before that finishes, in that 500 seconds we have, I'm just going to force merge this. Now, I don't know if this was happening for them because they are just like constantly going through and merging this immediately, or if they have this feature disabled, but it happened often enough that they had just pages and pages of like stale review app deployments. So, okay, that's been merged. And if we go back to pipelines, we should see that they were canceled. Cool. So that's just a nice sort of quality of life thing. Before this made it to production, though, a maintainer noticed that there was an issue. So there's a follow-up merge, which is kind of interesting to talk about. So before, what I was doing is just sort of like iterating over each environment, looking for review deployment jobs, and then looking for the deployments within those. So you sort of say all the deployments active with deployable, go through all of those and cancel them, right? Sort of makes sense. The issue was actually this sort of data integrity thing. So you can't just naturally iterate over all of the deployables. You have to sort of like get this lock, and then you have to this like check to see like if that deployable actually exists, can you then try to cancel it? So there's like all these like guards and checks that had to be in place to actually make this robust enough to be able to go to production with it. So thankfully, Shinya caught that before that actually went out. But yeah, data, it's hard. Yeah, and that is that's all I've got.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. So can you explain, help me understand how, like, why we need to lock that? Is it because that data set could change while you're iterating over it? Is that kind of the idea? Or
I think yeah, that is one
Yeah.
potential concern. I think there was also some sort of like bad data issue that could happen potentially, or had happened in the past and needed to be accounted for just sort of in perpetuity.
Okay.
I forget the details. It was about a month ago. So.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, there's like a lot of little intricate things that just sort of needed to be accounted for.
Nice. Cool. All right. Any other questions? All right. Jaime, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. My internet
no
connection
worries.
just dropped.
No worries.
Yeah. So where did we stop?
I'm not exactly sure.
So I was trying to show creating the release automatically from pushing to the default branch. So let me just share my screen again. Okay. All right. So I think I just committed. I was just trying to push this, and that should pick up the new job. Yep. Okay. So hopefully here you should see it soon. Yep. Cool. So the first job, like I said, is to prepare the release. There's a known issue and on the runner side on why we cannot just do this and in a before script, for example, of the same job. Basically, any variables that are generated in that job are not available to just pass on to other areas of the of that job. So, for example, if I had it here in the script to say, hey, generate the tag, I wouldn't be able to access that variable, excuse me, on that on this part of the job. So like as a workaround, we can just do that in a previous step in a job, and we're using this artifacts.m like to take advantage of that, and then I can just source the value from this environment variable. Okay, so the release finished. Again, this one is doing the same thing. It's just generating the command to the release CLI. And if I go into the releases, right, so this one is release 1.7.0. And if you remember, I only specify only one milestone and I didn't specify the release tab. So it just created it from now. Yeah, so that's pretty much it from this one. Any questions?
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. I had written down one question, and then I wanted to clarify. So what you were just talking about there, as a way to get around passing variables between steps on the runner side, you use the .env as kind of like your storage for that. And you just write it to there, and then it's available to all the steps. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You need to require the job. So you need the needs keyword to say, hey, job run first, and you also require the artifacts. Yep.
Okay, got it. And then my other question was the release CLI is a separate binary, and I think you said that gets included as part of a Docker image, like a base Docker image. Is that right?
So we require to specify it in the job to say, hey, use this release CLI. The release CLI is just it's a small binary that I've been working on. That pretty much all it does is talks to the releases API to generate a release. And
so, okay. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, as an MVC, we decided to require the image in the job to say, you require this release CLI Docker image, but the plan is to have that as binaries available to the runner that the runner can just download when it knows that is a release.
Okay. I think that makes sense. So then my last question was then, maybe this isn't a condition that we have to worry about, but is there a way for someone to use that release CLI without that Docker image? Like, is this downloadable from somewhere else?
The binaries are not uploaded to the plan is to upload them to S3 so that they can be downloadable, like just like the runner is.
Okay.
But it's still in. We haven't done that yet.
Okay, but that's the plan eventually, is to make it available that way. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks. Cheryl, I think you had a question.
I don't know if this is kind of a dumb question, but can you set a feature date with release set?
I believe you can. I think I haven't tested it yet, but I think you can set a future date. But I don't know how it's handled on the Rails side. My guess is it wouldn't display the release until the date has passed. Maybe Kras knows.
Yeah, that's the reason we have that field at all, to be able to create upcoming releases that will be available at given time.
So it just doesn't show until that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, but
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Instead of trying to predict the future and say it was created 2 days in the future. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. All right, any other questions? All right, Kras, your turn.
Okay, let me share my screen now. Cool. So I'm gonna show you some work in progress that's around integration with Vault as a secrets manager, and in general, introducing the concept of secrets in GitLab CI, because at the moment we are in a bit of confusing state where the only way we can store secrets is as CI variables, and there is even no way to like distinguish a general variable from secret variable, and not ideal. And some customers want to have a more tight control, or even not have the secrets in GitLab at all. So, and is explicitly like the use case was to use their Vault servers. So we decided to introduce a new secrets keyword in GitLab CI. And secrets in this context means like some sensitive data that will be stored from a secrets provider. And the first provider we're gonna start is Vault. We plan to add more in the future, and I guess the next one will be our internal GitLab kind of provider to replace the current approach of storing secrets in CI variables, and also because not everyone will have their own Vault to run and use. So few releases ago, we made a first iteration, which was just adding an predefined variable to CI jobs with a JSON web token, and that JSON web token can be used to authenticate with Vault and then do pretty much anything you want, and that's allowed by the policies attached to the row you're using to authenticate. And it's working. It was immediately picked up and adopted by some customers, but you have to do everything manually. Like, for example, you have to authenticate manually, then fetch the secrets from Vault, put them in environment variables, and so that you can use them eventually. So the next step was to add that syntax to CI, so that people, you can define for each job the secret that job will need. And that's like one of the differences with having secrets in CI variables, because those are provided to every job in your pipeline. So now jobs will be able to explicitly ask for secrets, and then you basically define all the details that will be needed to fetch that secret from Vault. This like config is processed and passed to the runner when it's asking for a job. And the next step, which is currently work in progress and it's missing, so for the demo I'll have to pretend I'm being a runner that can handle this. With all those details, runner authenticates with Vault, reads the secrets, and then makes them available to the job to use. So if we run pipeline first in this simple job, I have to like dummy secrets. We have different forms of the syntax. This is the simplest possible, which assumes a lot of defaults. This is pretty much the same, but add suffix at the end means that your secrets engine is mounted under a custom path, and that path is ops in this case. And we even have a more detailed version of syntax where we can explicitly provide all the details, and that will be useful in the future when we start adding different secrets engines and different authentication methods. But for now, we support just one secrets engine, which is the key value version 2. So I'll start a pipeline for this branch. But first I'll start my runner. Okay, so now this job immediately failed because the runner that I just started is not supporting that new vault secret feature. And that's what Thomas from the runner team is working on right now. So I'll try again. This time we're not gonna have runner working. We'll start a new pipeline. So the job is pending because there is no runner, and I'll make the request, the API request that runner is doing to get the job from GitLab. And the main difference here is that we pass details for the features that this specific runner supports the vault secrets feature, so that it can get the job assigned. Okay, and it returns no content, which means that it didn't get the job. And this time it failed because the secrets provider cannot be found. This basically means that we told the runner that this job needs given secrets, but we didn't provide any details about the vault server, which is like the URL and the authentication role, which is optional. So that's something we're gonna do in the next iteration. Maybe put it somewhere under settings CI/CD, where you can define your vault server or any other provider we're going to support. But for now, on the first iteration, we're gonna do this by putting this in a CI variables. So if we try one more time, but giving so I'll have one variable that is vault server URL and one for the authentication role, which is optional. If you don't specify, then the default role will be used. And we run the pipeline again. So this time I'll pass the response through JQ so that it's formatted JSON with C. And you can see that's the response that GitLab will return to the runner. And we have both secrets. The YAML from the CI config was passed, and we provide all that stuff that's needed for runner to read the secret, which is the vault server URL, the authentication role, the JSON web token to use for authentication, and then the path to that secrets, what secrets engine we are using, where is it mounted. So that's basically all that runner will need to generate API requests to vault to authenticate and read it. And that's it, basically. Any questions?
That's cool. Thanks for sharing that, Kraz. So the runner team is working on their side of this integration still. So this is all sort of work in progress until that is completed.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We had a proof of concept where everything was working, and that's when we decided to go that way. Because before that, there was a lot of back and forth and discussion. Should we reach vote from GitLab, read the secrets, and pass them to the runner, or should we do it from the runner? And I'm happy we ended it that way, because this means that if you are using private runners, then everything basically can stay in your network. Like both your vote doesn't need to be accessible from the internet, and GitLab actually never has access to your secrets. We just provide the data for your runners to get the secrets from your vote, which I think will make many enterprises happy.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice design. I'm thinking of one customer in particular that uses GitLab.com and has their own runners that they run their own fleet, and so that would totally fit that pattern.
Yeah, if it's the same customer I'm thinking of, they immediately picked up that JSON Web Token when we introduced it and start using it. So that will just make it easier. Instead of manually having to do in every of your jobs, you can define those secrets, and you can also use like includes and overrides to have like, you have the secrets defined, but then for each job you can change just the role so that you have different secrets for staging or production.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But
yeah, it's a cool design, and it's like kind of shows the power of what the CI/YAML can do, and like how we're able to do so much with that. That's really cool. All right. Any other questions? Anyone?
I might have missed this in the beginning, but I thought you had mentioned that we were looking at maybe building our own, and like instead of using what we have now, just environment variables or CI variables.
yeah, and by building our own, we made up with what I mean is like we may end up with basically the same implementation, but having it separated from variables. So even if we do what we do now, which is keep those secrets encrypted in the database, they will be on like their own table and not mixed with the other variables.
Cool. I think that makes sense. And so then the idea there is that uses the same interface that Paul uses too. So then it kind of lines up the way we interact with these secret stores in case there's a third one we want to add someday.
Yeah, there are a few others like AWS have their, Google have one, and there are some others that are not less popular.
Cool. Nice. All right. Any other questions, or shall we wrap it up for today? All right, cool. Thanks for demoing, everyone. I really appreciate it. I've got in the doc, there's a link somewhere. I'll send the link out to you as well. In that issue, in our organization issue, please leave any feedback or send me feedback on this format, how we do this, anything we want to change. I want to keep doing these in upcoming months, so we can always look for ways to improve. So cool. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a good rest of your day.
Thanks. See you.
Bye.